Here's a number I want you to think about for a second. $105 billion. That's how much money people have now poured into a single dividend ETF, one fund in 2026. And it's not SPY, it's not QQQ, it's a quiet, overlooked fund that most people called boring just 2 years ago. That fund is up roughly 26% so far this year, while the S&P 500 is sitting at barely half that. And here's the part that'll really get you. The people who dismissed it as too slow for retirement, they're the ones who missed the biggest dividend ETF rally in 4 years. I'll tell you exactly what that fund is in a minute. But first, I need to show you the 5 ETF system I actually use for retirement income in 2026. Not theory, not backtests from 2010, the real numbers right now. Let's get into it. Why most retirement income approaches fail. Look, most people building retirement income make the same 2 mistakes. Mistake 1, they chase the highest yield they can find. They see 14%, 15%, even 20% distribution rates, and they think more yield equals more money. It doesn't. Yield tells you how much a fund is currently distributing, but total return tells you whether the fund is actually creating or destroying your wealth over time. If your fund is paying you 12% a year, but the NAV is eroding at 5% annually, you're slowly liquidating yourself. You just don't see it happening. Mistake 2, they try to solve everything with one fund, one ETF for income, growth, inflation protection, stability, all in one ticker. That's like expecting one employee to do 5 different jobs simultaneously. It doesn't work. The system I follow, and that I genuinely believe is the right structure for 2026, is a 3-bucket approach. Bucket 1 is your foundation, cash, short-term treasuries, peace of mind. Bucket 2 is growth, compounding against inflation. And bucket 3 is income, your freedom fund, the monthly cash flow that lets you live without touching your principal. Today, I'm covering the 5 ETFs that fit into this system right now, one fund per role, and I'll tell you exactly where each one lives. Number 1, SPYI, NEOS S&P 500 High Income ETF. Role, Broad Income Core. This is my core income holding, and the numbers as of mid-2026 back that up. Distribution rate, approximately 12.1%. Monthly income, that's money hitting your account 12 times a year. But here's the number that actually matters. 1-year total return, approximately 18.7%. That's the real test. That means the fund isn't just distributing, it's growing. You're not liquidating yourself to generate income. The underlying value is still climbing. Expense ratio, 0.68%. On a $100,000 position, that's $680 a year. For what you're getting, active management, tax efficiency, and monthly income, that's not expensive. Now, the tax piece is something most people miss entirely. SPYI uses SPX INDX options, which receive what's called Section 1256 tax treatment, 60% long-term capital gains rate, 40% short-term capital gains rate. That's automatically lower than ordinary income. They also do tax loss harvesting and may classify portions as return of capital, further reducing your annual tax bill. If you hold this in a taxable brokerage account, that matters a lot. One potential drawback: performance is tied to large-cap U.S. equities. If the S&P 500 enters a prolonged bear market, SPYI will feel it. No strategy is immune. But historically, this combination of income plus growth has proven durable. SPYI earns the top spot because it balances yield, growth, and tax efficiency better than almost anything else in its category. It's the anchor. Number 2, JEPI, JP Morgan Equity Premium Income ETF. Role, lower volatility income or conservative satellite. Current yield, approximately 8.2%. 1-year total return, approximately 11.9%. That's an important update from a year ago. The market recovery in 2025-2026 helped JEPI's underlying holdings, and the picture looks better than it did when covered call funds were underperforming in the bull market's hottest phase. Expense ratio, 0.35%, among the lowest in this space. And the AUM tells you something too. $44.7 billion. This is one of the largest actively managed ETFs in existence. That's not a coincidence. Here's who JEPI is actually for. It's for the investor who looks at SPYI's 12% yield and says, I want income, but I don't want to ride those swings. JEPI intentionally selects lower volatility stocks and overlays equity-linked notes to soften the ride. You give up some upside in raging bull markets. You get a smoother, calmer income stream in return. One real risk to understand: the income from JEPI's ELN structure is typically taxed at ordinary income rates, not the favorable 60-40 treatment SPYI gets. In a taxable account, that gap matters. In a tax-advantaged account like an IRA, it matters less. If you're conservative, recently retired, or simply want a lower volatility monthly income stream, JEPI belongs in your portfolio. Just go in with clear eyes about the trade-offs. Number 3, QQQI, NEOS NASDAQ 100 High Income ETF. Role: Growth Plus Income Satellite. This is the most aggressive fund on this list, and for some retirees, the most exciting. Current distribution rate, approximately 14.6% monthly. That's the highest yield of any fund we're covering today. 1-year total return, approximately 13.6%. Now, that number is lower than what was being quoted a year ago. The NASDAQ 100 has experienced some volatility in 2026 as the AI trade cooled from its peak frenzy. But here's what matters more. Since inception in January 2024, QQQI has averaged around 21.5% annualized total return. Think about that for a second. In roughly 2.5 years, this fund has compounded at over 20% annually, while paying out 14+% in distributions every year. The numbers tell a story of a strategy that has genuinely delivered. Expense ratio 0.68%, same as SPYI. It's actively managed, uses NDX index options with that same Section 1256 tax treatment, and owns the actual NASDAQ 100 underneath. The risk is concentration. Tech and growth stocks power this fund. When that sector runs, it really runs. When it corrects, QQQI feels it more than SPYI or JEPI. That's a trade-off you need to accept consciously. My honest take: don't make QQQI your entire income bucket. Make it your tech income satellite, the position that adds juice to your overall yield, while SPYI holds the foundation steady. Number 4, SCHD, Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF. Role: Inflation Fighter, Long-Term Dividend Growth Engine. Remember that number I opened with, $105 billion? This is the fund. SCHD has done something in 2026 that surprised a lot of people. While AI-adjacent tech stocks have gone through a rotation, SCHD, which holds essentially 0 of those names, has delivered approximately 26% in total return year to date, dramatically outpacing the S&P 500. Energy, consumer staples, financials. Quality dividend payers with 10+ years of consistent distributions. But here's the thing, you're not buying SCHD for what it's doing right now. The current yield is only around 3.1 to 3.3%. If you need $5,000 a month starting tomorrow, SCHD alone won't do it. You're buying it for what it becomes. The expense ratio is 0.06%, essentially free. It screens 100 companies using dividend consistency, financial strength, cash flow quality, and dividend growth. Over time, those dividend payments compound. In 5 to 10 years, the investor who bought SCHD today could be earning an effective yield of 7 to 9% on their original cost basis, without touching a single option strategy. Where it belongs? Growth bucket or dividend growth sleeve. It's not your primary paycheck. It's the engine running in the background, quietly building tomorrow's income. Think of it this way: SPYI is paying you today. SCHD is paying your future self. Number 5, BNDI, NEOS Enhanced Income Aggregate Bond ETF. Role: Fixed Income Diversifier. Every retirement portfolio needs a fixed income component. The question is, which one? A plain aggregate bond fund will give you somewhere around 4 to 4.5% yield today. BNDI takes that same bond market exposure and adds a systematic SPX put option overlay, and the result is a trailing distribution yield of approximately 5.75% paid monthly. Expense ratio, 0.58%. The fund has an expense cap locked in at 0.58% through May 1st, 2027, so you know exactly what you're paying for at least the near term. What makes BNDI genuinely interesting is the tax structure. Bond interest is normally taxed at ordinary income rates, which can be punishing. BNDI converts that income through its ETF wrapper and uses those same Section 125 SPX options, creating a more favorable tax profile than a standard bond fund. That's real money back in your pocket. The honest caveat, this is not a risk-free bond fund. The active options strategy introduces complexity, and it's sensitive to interest rate changes like any fixed income vehicle.